feel tired after that introduction. So what I'll do today, I've just got 2 slides, 5 minutes. I just want to talk about the sort of current situation, a bit of context from an RDC perspective, from Dairy Australia's perspective, set the scene, and then the next slide's just talking about some of the barriers and opportunities that we face as an RDC. So in terms of the current situation around extension, in the last 5 years, Dairy Australia's taken much more of a leadership role and much more responsibility for delivery of extension activities to the dairy industry, partly driven by state government decisions pushing us into that space, but also a conscious decision to do more and to take more leadership in this area. We've done that through an increased regional presence. We're fortunate, we've got 8 regional development programs around the country that give us the presence and the capability to really deliver extension activities. Coupled though with taking on more of a role in that space is that we have had to contribute more funding. And I think in the last 5 years our extension budget's doubled. Our overall budget hasn't, so you can see that there's been a trade-off between R&D and extension, and at the moment, if I look at my budget, they're about 50-50. We've really focused on driving up participation. It's a pretty coarse measure, but my theory is if we're delivering programs, it costs us no more to have more people participating. Let's try and drive more change just by increasing our reach. And you can see there that we've, just through more activity, engaging farmers more effectively, that we've been able to really pull that lever more strongly. The other area that we've focused a lot on around extension is why are we doing it? Let's make sure that when we're delivering activity that it actually lines up with an industry outcome or an objective or a target. And so really trying to drive that through our activities and those that we partner with. And I think my critique of sort of coming into this space 5 years ago, and it still happens now, lots of activity that's not necessarily lined up with a clear purpose or outcome, or certainly not an outcome that we want to invest in as a levy funder. We have spent a lot of effort around building the service capability or delivery capability across our own people, our regional development programs, private advisors, including agribusiness, private operators, consultants, etc., and service providers. And we're fortunate in the dairy industry where our processing sector has a large footprint and able to assist with extension. And that's been really providing specific technical advice, which then assists us in delivering our programs, but also private providers then being able to use that information to build their own services. A strong focus on integrating extension and education. If I look back 5 years ago, there was always this ongoing argument about whose role was what and trying to define even extension and education's role. Our view is let's not even have that conversation. Let's just build programs that can be delivered both through an extension mechanism but also an education one if we choose to, and let's flex if we need to. And then I think the other point around our current situation is some things old and new again. We've really focused on some activities, extension activities that have worked well in the past, things like discussion groups that we've resuscitated and reinvigorated, but that's not to say that we're locked into those methods either, and really interested in what opportunities new technologies in particular can provide around extension. So that's where we are today. What keeps me awake at night? Plenty. One is around evaluation of extension, and Ian mentioned it, and whatever the boss says you take notice of, but and I think this is not just for our board but for all of our funders, including the government. How do we demonstrate and articulate the benefits, outcomes, impact of extension to show that it's had an impact, but also increasingly in the future to justify further funding? And for some reason, I don't know what it's like in other sectors, evaluation seems to be more difficult than it needs to be. We need to take, I think, and this is Adrian's goalpost slide, improve segmentation and customisation of our offering. It's not good enough now just to nominate the target audience as dairy farmers. We've got fewer farmers, we've got increasing complexity, and we need to provide much more tailored solutions, tailored information around our extension offering. And once again, as part of that, getting that mix of group and individualised approaches right. and being very careful as we move down the individualised path that we're not skewing the market and not getting in the way of really effective providers. The other big opportunity for us, I think, is to look at other sectors and particularly the marketing and comms area to be more innovative, to incorporate some of that segmentation and marketing thinking into how we position and tailor programs. And we've started work in that area, but I think some real opportunities there. The next point around partnerships, absolutely. I think there's partnerships within dairy that we haven't explored well enough, and I think John in your section touched on that. I reckon we struggle at both ends of the spectrum. Engaging the sole operators, difficult. There's lots of them, and rounding them up's difficult. But also engaging with the big end of town, John's difficult as well. Like which door do we go through? Who do we engage? How do we find the time? So partnership opportunities there, but also I think across sectors as well. And we've seen some good developments in the people area where we've said, look, people's an issue, whether in dairy, cotton, beef, etc. Let's take more of a collaborative extension approach there. Another point that Adrian well made was around farm business management. It's got to be an underpinning factor within our extension delivery. Unless it's contributing to profit, why are we really talking about it? But let's make sure there are elements of farm business management in all that we're delivering, not just specific farm business management programs. And then the final barrier, maybe an opportunity, is just the ongoing resourcing pressures. Less government money available, absolutely, in extension, but also from an industry perspective, more pressure on levy funds, more expectation we do more with those funds, and so carving out a space for extension in that remains a challenge, as well as finding the right people with the right capability to deliver.